one of the artifacts that scared me a lot when I was creating it was the video for Digital Humanities this semester, which is how I view technology and some of the technology that I've used in the classroom. It is the first part I go through.
Play a little bit.
Okay. The first part, I'm going to skip ahead to where I'm actually talking about technology. The first part of it is me showing what I've done in the classroom, and then the second part is me reflecting on what it means to use technology. Hopefully. Yeah, it's working earlier.
What did you do?
Tell you what, why don't you show us another one and we'll get Matt Walker
Okay.
in the technical room to put these.
Okay. I think that that is one of my favorite artifacts that I didn't necessarily see working and meaning that much to me at the very beginning. Another artifact that I'd like to point out is the first lesson that I really think went well, which actually was not done this in the classroom. It was part of the cohort last year and the mini lesson during the fall, which was that econ lesson that Liz will probably never forgive me for. But this lesson, the level playing field and being able to take a subject that scares students and scares teachers and being able to make it very accessible. And I think that this was the first lesson that I had, even though it was right here with the cohort, where I was like, okay, I can do this. Everything up until then was a little bit more of just getting through. And I think that doing this lesson in the classroom was the first time where I was like, okay, this actually works. And I reflect on that in the midterm, which is a part of my WordPress blog, and talking about things like how we as social studies educators aren't necessarily very well-rounded, and we fall victim to our own biases in teaching what we like as opposed to what students really need to learn. And I think that that's the first time that I really saw myself this year as a teacher in a way that would actually work. Do we want to try it just with laptop sound?
If you want to give it a shot, that'd be cool. Just with laptop
We're
sound.
actually on.
He's just
Wait,
waiting.
oh, that was the problem. Hold on a second.
Okay.
It's hot now.
Get out.
Okay. Yay! Thank you.
For the 6 years of college.
Okay. No.
Next time you do it, though, you need to go crap it.
I think you have no idea. I lost 10 pounds in the last 2 weeks from this crap, so it can't sit anymore. Not this crap, but other stuff. I have
Support, but not replace.
Okay.
In the last section, I talked a little bit about how I've used technology, and now I'll tell you a little bit about my philosophy towards using technology. I've seen in some college classes where technology gets used for the sake of using technology, and in many ways isn't much more effective or is even less effective than traditional teaching techniques, such as straight lecture, overheads, things like that. When I first came to tech, I did get a little bit frustrated by the way that technology, particularly PowerPoint, was misused. The high school that I went to didn't have a lot of technology, and it was definitely a shock coming to tech and seeing things like Almos, a few active boards, smart boards, and PowerPoint, and lots of projectors in the classrooms. And while I thought that it was an interesting transition, many of the classes, looking back from a distance of 5 and 6 years of my first and second year of school, many of my favorite classes were the ones that didn't use technology. I found through both internships that I've had that teachers really, really strive to use technology, in part because the administration really supports it, because it does appeal to today's students. At the same time, a lot of the times that I've seen technology used in the classroom, it's not very effectively, and it's using a new and more expensive tool to do the same thing that's always been done. This isn't the point of technology. All that does is drive up the cost of education. Technology for the pure purpose of using technology has no role in public schools, in my opinion. But that's what so much of the technology I've seen used does. My goal in using technology is to enhance my instruction so that it's able to appeal to a greater range of students, and not just the small segment of the students that are going to get it anyhow, regardless of what I do. It is designed to appeal to all students and make learning more accessible, getting into the ideas of things that I've talked about, like understanding by design, universal access to education, trying to design curriculum so that it's accessible to all students. And technology is one of many tools to do this. Technology is nothing more than a tool.
Okay. So that was a little bit just about how I see technology, and that was part of, I guess, my conclusion to the Action Research Project this semester.
Follow-up question to that, that's not my big question. You framed that by saying, this scared me a lot. Can you talk about what scared you?
Yeah, I am not at ease working with video and seeing myself on camera. And I would prefer to do just about anything that doesn't involve multimedia editing. I can handle Photoshop, and that's about, when you get into video and audio, I want nothing to do with it. So just seeing that I had to do that was pretty frightening.
Thank you. One of the pressures that I'll probably put on some of your peers when it comes to talking about their experiences in the program, I look for your defenses to forecast out what from this applies to what you do next. What have you learned that will move into your classrooms, right? Because you're going into a different kind of a context and a different kind of a setting. So what are you carrying with you that's unique and valuable?
I think with technology, one of the big things that I learned...
It doesn't have to be technology. Think
Well,
program.
The big thing that I learned with technology was making do with the resources that you had and trying to think outside of the box and trying to solve a problem just in a different context. And I think that larger, looking at the program as a whole, what I'm really taking away from the program is skill sets as far as interpersonal skills, working with diverse student bodies, and being able to build one-on-one relationships with students. That is something that translates exactly from the classroom into the residence hall. I also think that increasingly higher education and residence life and residential living is moving towards a curricular model where we're setting learning goals, and what we're doing for the year is writing essentially a year-long plan of the learning outcomes we want our students to have and designing instructions and programming to be able to get there. And really, I think that this program prepares me better to do that than the vast majority of my colleagues that are coming out of the higher ed program here and at other schools.
Thank you very much.